This week has been a very significant one for the school sector. Following an intense period of weeks involving engagement with the education partners, I secured approval for the comprehensive plan that is the roadmap to the reopening of our schools and, most importantly, the funding to implement it. The funding secured is significant, over £375 million, as deputies know. But what is most significant is that the plan and the funding addresses all of the areas that need attention, that need to be addressed to get our schools open again, and indeed to keep them open. The paramount considerations throughout, as the challenges before us from COVID-19 have been worked through, have been to do the right thing by students, their families and school communities across the country. This is my first occasion to address the Statements on Education session in the Dáil as Minister for Education, but in April, May and June I was a regular contributor to earlier sessions, putting views and perspectives to my predecessor. Therefore, I am aware of the interest in education, but also the concerns and at times indeed the anxieties of students, their families and their school communities. As I have said consistently since I was appointed as Minister, the number one priority for me, for Government and my department and the wider school sector has been to reopen schools fully and safely at the start of the new school year. In seeking to reopen our schools, we said we would be guided by the available public health advice and comprehensive engagement with stakeholders, including the school management bodies and staff representatives, as well as students and parents. There has never been any doubt but that as Minister, my department, school leaders and staff all want to see schools reopening as normal for the new school year. Some deputies in earlier debates suggested that teachers, principals and other school staff had not been involved in the planning process, which led to the roadmap being published. I can assure the House that the staff unions of teachers, SNAs, school caretakers and secretaries, representatives of principals and deputy principals, school management bodies and representatives of parents and post-primary students were all directly involved and worked intensively with my officials to work through the detail. I appreciate that some hold the view that the roadmap could have been published sooner. The roadmap is built on the available public health advice, which is the foundation of the roadmap, and that public health advice was published on July 1st. We then needed to engage with the school staff and other partners to redesign elements of how we operate and resource our schools. Deputies were aware that it was my intention to publish such a roadmap by the end of this month. That has been the intention for the last number of weeks. The roadmap was published as soon as it could have been, and rather than publish a set of aspirations, it was right to work through identifying the supports needed to build consensus among the education partners, to get government agreement and then launch the roadmap. The roadmap gives the clarity, the confidence and hope that students, their families and schools wanted and indeed deserved. The roadmap and the funding package recognise the challenges faced by schools in ensuring the safe return of over 1 million students and approximately 100,000 staff in 4,000 schools in the context of COVID-19. It sets out clear plans and practical guidance on the measures schools will need to take to operate safely and minimise the risk of the introduction and spread of infection in schools. There is guidance on training, checklists for schools and preparing for reopening, and guidance for operation of the school in the safety of a COVID-19 context. It advises on areas across logistics, curriculum, teaching, managing school activities, supporting pupils with additional needs, administration and well-being. In other words, in every sense, it is a comprehensive plan backed up with the necessary financial package. It represents achievable ambition. The published template COVID-19 response plans for schools provide clear and practical guidance and support to our schools on the range of measures that need to be put in place to bring everyone back to school safely. The funding supports are comprehensive across a wide range of areas. Funding for replacement staff who cannot come to school because they are regarded as very high risk of COVID-19, including teaching staff, SNAs and administrative staff. Funding for additional supply panels at primary level, delivering more certainty around the availability of substitutes. Funding for over 1,000 additional teachers at post-primary to help with physical distancing and class sizes, which includes 120 additional guidance posts. Funding to provide release days for teaching principals at primary level to meet the administrative burden arising from the changes and the impacts of COVID-19. Enhanced cleaning and hygiene measures, enabling schools to have daily cleaning arrangements and to purchase supplies of hand sanitizer and any other PPE required necessary. Funding for enhanced supervision, which is a key control measure to support schools to minimising interaction of students from different classes in line with public health advice. Funding to support school leadership, especially principals, in getting the schools ready. All schools will be able to employ an aide to get the school ready. And, as announced in the July stimulus package, funding of €75 million will support minor capital works for all schools. We know that most students, their families and school staff will be looking forward to going back, reconnecting with school, reconnecting with staff and friends, and settling back into schoolwork. There is a strong emphasis in the roadmap on safety and on practical arrangements, but also on ensuring the well-being of the students and of the entire staff community. I am particularly pleased that the package includes the filling of 120 guidance posts. Some have asked how the figure was arrived at. It represents the full restoration of the number of guidance posts to 2011 levels. Also, some have asked how the additional NEPS psychologist posts can be filled. There is an existing panel in place which can be utilised immediately to fill some of the new 17 psychological posts. In addition, a new recruitment competition has commenced, with interviews due to take place in the month of August, which will create new panels for all NEPS regions, meaning all vacancies can be filled at that point. Statements sessions earlier this summer were often dominated by calls to confirm that July provision would proceed this year. The summer programmes have in fact seen the number of participating schools, participating students and the eligibility for these programmes exceed previous years, acknowledging that of course there were some challenges. Deputies might wish to note that 245 schools are participating in the summer-based programme for children with complex needs, benefiting 3,900 students. 10,604 parents registered for the home-based summer programme, benefiting 11,350 students. 231 schools are participating in literacy and numeracy camps in Desh primary schools, benefiting, as expected, 7,600 students. And 81 schools are participating in the Desh post-primary programme, benefiting an expected 2,700 students. These programmes are providing a crucial stepping stone in rebuilding the connection between students and their schools before they return more fully in the autumn, as there is a particular focus on re-establishing relationships, building connections, meeting emotional needs, re-engaging in routines to support participation and learning. We know that we need to support the most vulnerable in particular in returning to school, and the summer programme is a vital element in preparing these students for the return to school. In the context of assessments in the 2020-21 school year, given the autonomy of schools in deciding how to sequence and pace learning for students in their schools, it is not proposed to centrally prescribe adjustments to the curriculum. It is considered that the most appropriate way to reflect the challenges that have occurred for students in 2019-2020 and potentially into 2020-21 is to incorporate adjustments into the certificate examinations in 2021. A key consideration in making these adjustments is the need to maintain familiarity with the structure of the questions and assessment components for students and teachers. The challenges will be broadly proportionate, but may vary, taking into account specific context across modules, subjects and programmes. In any cases, they will all involve some combination of students will be provided with greater choice in written examinations. They will be supported through the provision of additional questions and or adjustments to mandatory sections and written examinations. Dates in which coursework briefs are issued will be brought forward to allow for additional preparation time for students and teachers, and indeed, in some subjects, adjustments to the requirements for practical examinations will be made. These adjustments will reflect the need to manage access to equipment to complete the preparatory aspects. I can assure the House that the full engagement with the education stakeholders will continue, and that we are committed to supporting schools to prepare at local level for the reopening. There will also be comprehensive communication with students and parents so that they are fully informed over the coming weeks, with the campaign underway already. I would encourage deputies to use their offices and contacts to highlight where parents and students in particular can get accurate information on the gov.ie website. My department is providing dedicated and direct contact channels to schools so that where issues might arise for them, they can be resolved quickly. I have said it several times in contributions to the House this week, these are changed times during which, as a country, we have stood up to the challenges before us, showing great resilience, demonstrating tremendous community spirit and accepting the shared responsibility to fight the COVID-19 virus. We are committed to reopening our society in every sense, and the school sector is preparing to get our students back into classrooms in the coming weeks. Government is fully committed to supporting that return and has shown the scale of that commitment in the support package announced this week. There is an obligation on us as public representatives to show leadership and to ensure we support our students, our schools, our communities in getting back to school as normal in the coming weeks.